All right, today we're going to talk about one of the most famous, or maybe infamous drugs on the planet right now, Ozempic. But we're going to try to cut through all the noise, ignore the headlines, and go straight to the source, the FDA's official prescribing information, to see what this drug really is and who it's really for.
I mean, you can't escape it, right? You hear the name everywhere, on social media, in the news. The brand Ozempic has totally exploded. But all that buzz can sometimes make it hard to figure out what the actual facts are.
So what is the real story here? Beyond all the hype, what is this medication, who is it intended for, and what does the science actually say? Let's try to separate what we hear from what's officially known.
To do that, we're going straight to the primary document. No articles, no opinions. We are digging into the official guide that tells doctors exactly how to use this drug safely and effectively. This is ground zero for the facts.
Okay, so first things first. We all know the name Ozempic, but that's just the brand. The actual active ingredient, the thing doing all the work, is a drug called semaglutide. And that complicated scientific term, a GLP-1 receptor agonist, all that really means is it's designed to mimic a hormone your body already makes to help manage blood sugar and, well, make you feel full.
So this leads us to the most fundamental question of all. Why was this drug created in the first place? What did the FDA officially approve it to do?
And here it is, straight from the official label. Ozempic has two, and only two FDA-approved uses. First, to help adults with type 2 diabetes manage their blood sugar along with diet and exercise. And second, and this one is a really big deal, for those same patients who also have known heart disease, it's approved to reduce their risk of having a major event like a heart attack or stroke.
So you can see its intended use is incredibly specific. And just as important is what it's not for. The prescribing info is crystal clear. This is not for treating type 1 diabetes. It also states that it hasn't been studied in people with a history of pancreatitis, so it's not recommended for them.
So now that we know what it's for, let's get into the how. How does semaglutide actually pull this off inside the body? The document explains it as a kind of three-pronged attack. First, it does something really clever. It tells your pancreas to release insulin, but only when your blood sugar is high. Second, it tells your liver to slow down on making its own sugar, kind of like hitting the brakes on the sugar factory. And third, it slows down how quickly your stomach empties after you eat, which not only affects blood sugar, but is a big part of what makes people feel fuller for longer. Okay, so that's the theory of how it's supposed to work, but does it actually do it in real life? A drug only gets approved based on hard data, so let's check out what the clinical trials found.
The trials zeroed in on two key things for managing diabetes. The first was improving blood sugar, which they measure with something called HbA1c. You can just think of that as a snapshot of your average blood sugar over the past few months. The second thing they tracked was body weight.
And the results? Well, they were pretty dramatic. Just look at the placebo group, the people getting a dummy injection. Their blood sugar pretty much stayed the same. But patients on Ozempic saw their HbA1c drop by a huge 1.4 to 1.6%. At the same time, they lost significantly more weight. It was clearly working on both fronts.
But hey, remember that second approved use? The one about protecting the heart? That's a massive claim that goes way beyond just blood sugar. So how did it do there? The result from that landmark trial can be boiled down to a single, powerful number, 26%. In the study, patients with type 2 diabetes and heart disease had a 26% lower risk of a major cardiac event. That's a heart attack, stroke, you name it, compared to those taking a placebo. I mean, that's a life-changing number.
Of course, any medication this powerful is going to come with risks, and the FDA requires the most serious potential risks to be put in what's called a boxed warning. It's basically the highest possible level of alert, right at the top of the label.
And here it is, word for word. The warning is about a potential risk of thyroid C-cell tumors. Now, the crucial detail here is that this was observed in rodents. The FDA makes it very clear that it is unknown if this risk also applies to humans. Still, the possibility alone was serious enough for them to put their strongest warning on it.
So because of that warning, there are specific groups of people who are told they absolutely should not use this drug. It's what's called contraindicated, a hard no. This applies to anyone with a personal or family history of a specific kind of thyroid cancer, called MTC, or a rare genetic condition called MEN2.
Okay, so that's the big one. But beyond the boxed warning, the clinical trials obviously documented all the other side effects that patients and doctors need to know about.
And the most common ones, well, they're pretty much all about your gut.
We're talking nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea. And just look at the difference here. About 1 in 5 people on Ozempic reported nausea. That's more than 3 times the rate in the placebo group. It's a similar story for the others. So these aren't some rare side effects. For many, they're a very real part of the experience.
And the list of other serious warnings is, well, it's a sobering reminder of just how potent this drug is. Doctors and patients have to watch out for things like pancreatitis, complications with diabetic eye disease, kidney injury, dangerously low blood sugar, and even gallbladder problems. It's a serious list.
So, after going through all the official data, we land at the central question for any medication. It's all about balancing the good against the bad, the benefit versus the risk.
And this slide really puts it all on the scales, doesn't it? On one side, you have these massive, proven benefits: powerful blood sugar control, a major reduction in heart risk, and weight loss. But on the other side of the scale, you have that serious boxed warning, those really common GI issues, and a whole list of other significant risks to watch for.
When you boil it all down, the takeaway from the FDA's own document is that Ozempic is not some simple lifestyle drug. It is a powerful, complex medication with incredible benefits and significant risks, and it was designed and studied for very specific groups of people.
And that leaves us with the ultimate question, the one that can only be answered between a patient and their doctor. For the right person, in the right situation, is the huge potential benefit worth taking on these serious risks? That's the essential calculation at the heart of modern medicine, and a drug like Ozempic brings it into focus more sharply than ever.